Secretary came on Tuesday, and she had clearly spent a month researching whether or not she could provide the advice that she did. So she clearly thought very carefully about the information that she brought. When the Prime Minister then launched an investigation, rather than coming straight to the House with the information that she had provided, was that because the information was insufficient to present to the House? And if so, when was he planning to come to the House?
Prime Minister.
Yeah, it was insufficient because all it told me was that the recommendation of UKSV was to deny clearance. What it didn't tell me was who then provided the clearance, why did they do it, and who knew. And they were questions that the House obviously would want to raise with me, and that's why I urgently asked for those facts to be established so I could come to the House today and provide the full account that I have provided to the House.
Colin Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ballot vetting should be carried out before someone has, and I quote, frequent and uncontrolled access to top-secret material or any access to top-secret or coded, otherwise known as STRAP material. The Prime Minister has promised full transparency, so I ask him three questions. Did Peter Mandelson have access to any top-secret or STRAP material before his DV clearance on the 29th of January? Did Peter Mandelson have any restrictions placed on his access to top-secret or STRAP material during his time in Washington? And if so, has the Prime Minister assured himself that Mandelson did not leak any of this material, just as he had leaked commercially confidential material to Jeffrey Epstein under Gordon Brown?
Yeah.
I do not understand that he had access to STRAP material before he took up his post as ambassador. He did have access after he took up his post, and that's why I have ordered a review of any security concerns that may arise.
Justin Madders.
Mr. Speaker, I think we all find it staggering, don't we, that someone can fail their security vetting and still be appointed to such a sensitive and critical role. And it's even more staggering, as we've heard, that the Prime Minister wasn't informed of that failure. Now, I agree with what the Prime Minister said. He didn't need to know the details, but he did need to know that he'd failed the security vetting. And it's in terms of the detail that I want to ask the Prime Minister this. If people didn't know what the concerns were on security for Peter Mandelson, how could any minister, how could any official, how could any other state deal with him on sensitive security issues? I understand the Prime Minister's doing an inquiry into that, but it's very important that Parliament has oversight of that issue, because I'm very concerned there's been another failure there to manage our security interests.
Prime Minister, I thank him. In a case such as this, in relation to such a sensitive post, I don't think it's right that somebody should be appointed at all if the UKSV are recommending that clearance is not given. So that would be my position on this.
Sir John Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When I was privileged to serve as Security Minister, the Prime Minister was my shadow, and dealing with matters of the most significant national security, he was straightforward with me, as I was with him. So I hope he'll answer this straightforward question. The humble address makes clear that the ISC will see any material related to national security or international relations. In the course of our work, we've clearly liaised with the Cabinet Office. When did the Cabinet Office know about this failure in vetting? Who knew? And why didn't they bring that material to the ISC when they found it? For we hadn't received it when he found out that this vetting had failed, and yet others must have known that it had failed.
Prime Minister.
Would you just excuse me? The situation was that as part of the work that was being done on the humble address, this information came to light. Senior officials immediately took legal advice on whether it could be disclosed. Having got that legal advice, they immediately disclosed it to me. I think that was the proper process. I think it has now been disclosed to the committee, albeit, I think, on the Thursday rather than the Tuesday. But that's the process. And just to defend that process, I do think it was right for the senior officials, having got this information, to get legal advice on whether they could disclose it and who to. I think that was the right thing to do. As soon as they got that advice, they brought it to my attention.
Lawrence Turner.
disgraced himself and by extension brought shame upon these two houses of which he was formerly a member. Does the Prime Minister agree that the famous Armstrong Memorandum on the Conduct of the Civil Service was correct and holds true today when it said, "It is the duty of a civil servant to make available to the Minister all the information and experience at his or her disposal which may have a bearing on the policy decisions to which he is committed or preparing to make, and to give to the Minister honest and impartial advice without fear or favour, and whether that advice accords with the Minister's view or not."
Prime Minister.
Yes, I do agree with that, and that's why this information could and should have been shared with me at the first opportunity, and that was before Peter Mandelson took up his post as Ambassador.
There's Seville Roberts.
The Prime Minister is hiding behind a thicket of legalese and procedure, but he has a track record of appointing Labour's most favoured sons and daughters to plumb government jobs and into the House of Lords. In Wales, we know all about Labour's crony culture. Who could forget UK Labour's favourite First Minister, Vaughan Gething, propped up by number 10 in spite of dodgy donations, and now tipped for a peerage. But the timing, Mr. Speaker. How will he explain to his party his role in bringing down Labour's century of dominance in Wales in the forthcoming elections?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm addressing the question today about the process in relation to Peter Mandelson. I've set that out in some detail to the House and answered a number of questions.
Afsana Begum.
December 2024, the Prime Minister said in announcing Peter Mandelson as US Ambassador that he had unrivalled experience. This was despite the gravity of what was known about his record and available publicly. Is it not the case that Peter Mandelson's political appointment, which was personally decided by the Prime Minister and announced in public before the security vetting was completed, needed to progress and had to happen? However, it happened because of Mandelson's role in the Prime Minister's own leadership campaign and because it served the interests of one particular faction in the Labour Party.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I don't accept that is a reason for withholding from me the information about security clearance.
John Whittingdale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The result of the Prime Minister's terrible failure of judgment is that for over a year this country's interests were represented in the United States by someone